Hey guys, Jam here, and welcome back to another video. Now I know it's actually been quite a while since I've done my last proper conversion video, but like I said in previous videos, I am getting back into the swing of things. And in today's video, this is actually voted by one of my Patreons, well on my Patreon, and we're going to be doing a Primaris Iron Hands. So it's going to be all about that technology, robotic limbs, all that kind of good stuff. So yeah, let's get straight into it. So as you can see, I've gone for Gravis armor, and particularly I went for Eradicator because when I think of Iron Hands, I think of big chunky armor and big heavy weapons. And with these heavy Eradicator, like big melter rifles, whatever they're called, they've got a lot of cabling on them as well. I feel like cabling, like I said before, and like robotic limbs, all that kind of stuff, really helps sell that Iron Hands vibe. So I've gone through my bits box, I found robotic limbs, some faces that are half metallic, or maybe they just got a lens for an eyeball, something like that. Just like I said before, really leaning into that whole flesh is weak kind of thing. Which might actually be an Iron Warriors phrase, but they're pretty much the same thing. Now I had a few heads in my bits box that kind of had a robotic kind of feel to them, but I also wanted a full helmet because like I said before, I feel Iron Hands need that heavy armor. And this particular head, I'm pretty sure it is from the Eradicator kit. And it has a really nice heavily armored vibe. And obviously it's got the lens and stuff like that. So we've got a bit of technology as well. And then again from the Eradicator kit, it comes with this robotic arm with a pistol. Which again is pretty much perfect. So I'm going to build this model pretty much exactly the way the instructions tell you to do it. Up until a certain point. And at this point, I already feel this is quite Iron Handsy. But obviously, we're going to have to go a couple steps further. And to do that, I'm going to turn this leg slightly more robotic. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to kind of cut the back end of the leg off, but keep the front armor and everything still intact. As well as the kind of back plate thing that's connected to the cable. So in order to do this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start slowly cutting away with my hobby knife, getting some chunks out of there, going in with my clippers as well where I can, get some of the bigger chunks out, speed up the process. Just gently and slowly kind of working my way around this leg without damaging the parts that I actually want to keep. And then we should end up with this little back panel-y thing with the cable looking a bit like this. Nice and undamaged. But now that that's out of the way, it's time to carry on slicing the rest of the leg. So I'm going to keep on cutting the plastic away until we get pretty much level and flat with the front panel of armor. And as you can see, we got a pretty decent chunk of the plastic out there. We've got lots of space to start adding in some cabling and stuff like that. Now speaking about that, you'll want to raid your bits box for like loads of piping and cabling and all that kind of stuff. A lot of kits I have here, some of it's from like the Death Guard range, and obviously a lot you can get inside the Adeptus Mechanicus kits, and just, loads of kits in the GW range always have cables. But that being said, if you want to do an entire Iron Hands army, like really convert it up, I would invest in a green stuff roller. You get like kind of cable rollers or tentacle rollers or something like that. You can get them from a place called Green Stuff World. And you can do some really, really interesting stuff with that. So you can do an entire army. And an extra kind of side tip here, if you're doing an entire Iron Hands army, Primaris Intercessors have those little weird kind of ridged knee pads. And if you're very, very careful, you can actually cut out a cog shape into them. Now, I'd tried this. And it was just a quick little go. And I failed really badly with this because I cut them completely wrong. But it's definitely something you could look into if you want to give that a go. Now to save that section I just ruined, I sliced off the weird kind of cog plume that you get on some of these Skitarii Admech dudes. And I'm just going to kind of bend that and cut that to the shape of the knee. And as you can see there, I've got the cog on, I've got the leg actually glued on now. So I can start working in the cabling and stuff like that. So yeah, let's get on to that. So the first thing I do for the leg is I get some green stuff. So I go pretty much 50-50 with the blue and yellow. Mix it up till it's green, like it says on the tin. And then I just pat the green stuff down into that giant gap that I kind of carved out of the leg. Now this is going to do two things. One, it's going to kind of help the adhesion of the bits I'm going to squeeze in there, so you don't really need as much glue, but also it's going to fill in any gaps that we have when we're squeezing in the pipes and tubes and stuff like that. There's going to be gaps, and these can kind of fill it up a little bit. And then after I've cut some cabling down to the size I need, the first place I stick them in is in the middle of the leg, because if you remember from before, I cut out that kind of back plate slash cable kind of thing, and I want to get that on as well. So I'm going to get the middle of the leg kind of sorted out first. And once I've done that, I have to bend the kind of plate cable thing that I said before slightly, obviously, because we've lost quite a lot of thickness from the leg and stuff like that. So I just bend it gently, making sure not to snap it, so it touches the new cabling but also glues to the top of the leg as well, if that makes any sense. And now that that's in place, now we can start working in all the cabling and stuff around that. And I just keep kind of doing similar things like that. I find random bits of cables in different forms, some of them attaching to that back plate thing, and more just going into the actual leg department there. Just gradually building up the leg. Another thing I've actually been using quite a lot recently is I've found these little plastic earring things lying around, and they come in really handy for making spikes or pipes or anything like that for miniatures. So I'm going to cut some of them down to scale, and I'm going to glue these into the leg as well. Like I said, it looked like little pistons or something like that as well. So I thought that was quite cool instead of just having cables. And then once all the kind of cables, pistons and stuff like that all glued into the place that I want, I'm going to use my hobby knife at this point to kind of define the green stuff areas, flatten them out a bit more so they look maybe like bits of metal, something like that. Just neaten them up. And also some of the places where like the cabling's not quite flowing together the model, I'll build up some little green stuff like squares and little end caps and stuff like that. So it just looks like the cabling is going into something. And don't forget the old damp paintbrush thing to smooth out green stuff as well, if you want to get a nice and, well, like I said, smoothed out so you don't have any like fingerprint lines, tool marks, anything like that. And there we have it. As you can see, I added in little strips of green stuff, little squares and stuff like that. I've used my hobby knife to keep them really flat and rigid and stuff like that. Make them a little bit more like metallic, like I said before. Part of machinery, basically. But mainly there to kind of hide the edges of the cabling so it all kind of merges together a little bit better. I know this entire leg is very subtle. It's not like an entire robotic leg or something like that. It's just the back end. Like I wanted to keep the front armored panel and stuff. But I think once it's painted up and all that, it'll look really nice. Especially if you're doing an entire Iron Hands army. You don't want every single guy to have completely robotic legs. But yeah, now that the main feature of the model is pretty much done, it's time to kind of accessorize a little bit. Now I've got this weird little cable-y tube thing from one of the AdMech guys as well. I've just kind of snipped that off and I'm going to glue that underneath the backpack. I'm not really sure what it's supposed to be, but now I want to try and get as much cables and stuff like that into this model as I can, really. And speaking of more tech, I want to get some sort of like sensor array kind of thing on his backpack as well. One, I feel like that suits Iron Hands, and two, it really goes with the Death Watch kind of thing as well. Now this particular one that I've got here, I think it's from my Iron Priest from the Space Wolf guy. But I mean, you can find these kind of camera things in loads of different kits. I just kind of cut the base of that one to a point that I like and just glue it on. Easy as that. And here, as you can see, I added a little bit more cabling attaching the camera thing to the backpack. I just felt it needed a little bit extra there. It was just kind of lonely sat at the top. So once again, more cables. So small detail, but I like it. Now, like I said at the beginning of the video, another one of the main features of Iron Hands that stands out to me, I always think of heavy armor. And I felt like this guy just needed something extra on the lower half of his body. Now I got one of these, I don't know what the hell they're called, groin protectors, I guess. You can find them on loads of different types of models. Now this particular one is actually from a Plague Marine that I've sliced off. And all I really did with this was make sure I cut it down to the right size, made sure it fits around the groin. A little bit of snipping here and there. Make sure it kind of fits a bit more flush and glued it on. As you can see, definitely bulks the model out a little bit, and I don't know, I feel like it just gives that bottom half of the model a bit more weight. And the final accessory I've popped onto this guy was this weird little gadget thing from the Intercessor kit. You get gadgety things like this throughout all the Primaris range, so just pick one that you want really. I glued it on around his belt somewhere where you can see it. And like I said, that's pretty much it for this model done. All that's left to do now is cut to a nice little showcase of this miniature, and I'll get back to you guys. And there we have him, ladies and gents, in all his Iron Handsy glory. Now, like I've said in this video, it's not the most over-the-top kind of thing. I would really invest in like some sort of green stuff cable texture plate or something if this is a full arm you're going to do. And you can go absolutely crazy with it and it would look really, really nice. But I think the subtle little changes on this guy will work quite nicely for my army, and for anybody else that just wants to do some simple little touches here and there to spice up their Primaris. But as always guys, let me know what you think in the comments below. Does this guy scream Iron Hands to you? Does it really work? And of course, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, all that kind of nonsense. You know the drill by now. I do have a Patreon, a YouTube membership, all that kind of good stuff if you want to support the channel in that way. And again, thank you very much to my patrons that have kind of stuck by me the last couple of months with the low flow of content. But yeah, this was a Patreon voted conversion as well, so that's another perk if you want to jump on that, guys. But until the next one, bye bye.